guys, welcome back with History Unmuted, and it's myself, Nicole, and here with Adam, and we're ready to jump into kind of what's been happening within the past week. But yeah, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. So, what's really big, kind of right now, is in terms of Trump and in his big kind of I guess, as was talking to the White House in terms of this war with Iran. I think it's really important to kind of first discuss about in terms of him not really caring about the financial statuses of Americans, which is really funny given the fact that he campaigned on America first. Right? Like I find it really interesting in terms of him when he got out, he was leaving. It was right before he was leaving onto his trip to China, I believe, is when he was stopped to said this, right? Was that what I'm getting?
Yeah, like, right
Or
before
he's
he got
on
on
his
the
way to
plane,
something.
right before he got on the plane, he's like a reporter asked him about, like, "Do you care about what the Strait of Hormuz's impact on it being closed?" And he's like, "Oh," essentially paraphrasing, but essentially he said, "All I care about is Iran not getting a nuke. I don't care about the American people not having any money."
And that's what really kills me because if anyone actually, which they do this intentionally, they throw a lot of information onto the American people. So they're just like confused and they don't know what's going on. And I think a lot of people forgot that the late summer of 2025, they conducted that Operation Midnight Hammer. And
Mhm.
Operation Midnight Hammer, there was like, oh, we're going into Iran. We're doing this like secret op mission, middle of the night, stealthy, and we're going to go ahead and just bomb their nuke facilities, their nuclear capable facilities. And even in Tulsi Gabbard's like congressional report for this operation, which is easily to find, okay? Like so easy to find.
Yeah.
She even states within this report, and there is a video of her speaking to Congress saying this. That she pretty much like no verbatim what she said, recall, but she said, yeah, we basically cemented their facilities shut, and they are at least not going to be able to create nuclear facilities for like another at least 5 years. That was the end of last summer. So
Yeah.
5 months later, all of a sudden we're attacking Iran, saying that they have nuclear weapons. And what kills me is that their followers, and I say followers because, uh, again, my own personal opinion, I believe they're a cult. Um, their followers just like blindly just believe it. Like, yeah, they have listen. Netanyahu has been saying that Iran is close to, and America, don't get me wrong, not just Netanyahu, has been saying Iran is 2 weeks away from nuclear freaking weapons since the 70s. Like,
Well, yeah,
it's
since the
almost like
90s.
when I watched Game of Thrones, they're like, winter is coming. And I was like
Yeah.
5 seasons in, I was like, winter's never coming.
Yeah.
That's what it's
He's
like.
been
And I'm like,
he's been saying it essentially since we've been alive. And
yeah.
the interesting about, Gabbard testimony is she said that, then she got sidelined after that. Essentially,
That
she's
part.
been put in the gulag of, the Trump administration because
Mhm.
she said
Her
the quiet
cover-up
part out
wasn't good
loud.
enough. It's 'cause her
Yeah.
cover-up wasn't good enough,
Mhm.
and I stand by that because Pam Bondi couldn't cover up the Epstein files enough or
Yeah.
good enough. Look what happened to her. If you can't cover up enough in their administration, you're booted. And it's so blatantly obvious. And back to the Iran thing with the nuclear weapons too. A lot of people again forget that in Iran they have a fatwa, which is a religious rule that does not allow them to create weapons of mass destruction or nuclear weapons. A
Well, it is.
religious rule that's tied to their legal system. It's
Yeah.
illegal, like and tied in with their law. And they also have law that states na 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 na. And it's not even that they don't want them to have like build nuclear weapons. It's not really. They want the resources of it because they
Mhm.
do have nuclear I guess products to create nuclear weapons. Like, what is it? The uranium? I can't remember what it was. It, but they have. I know that they did have facilities that were able to produce
Yeah,
that. Right?
uranium and things like that.
Yeah, they're able to produce those things, and that's what the U.S. really wants. So it's just, I don't know. I find it just all very, very hinky.
Yeah. Um, it's funny how they don't
But
want them to get a nuke. They wanna go in and take all the material, but they said that they destroyed all of it.
and that's what kills me that they're like these followers. They're like, no, they just can hold the nuclear weapon.
I
Pay
mean,
attention. They're lying to your face.
the
To
cognitive dissonance that Republican voters and Trump voters have now is just ridiculous to me, like, he's not even trying anymore. Like, 2016 Trump, like, at least he was intelligent about his lies, like, it's just blatant now.
yeah, it's there's a really I don't give a F moment. And I'm gonna say it, and this is my own personal views and opinion, but I think he was petty that he lost the election against Biden, that he didn't get two, consecutive presidencies in a row. And he's such a petulant child that he's used to getting what he wants because he's a nepo fucking kid. Um,
Mm.
that he essentially was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be petty." And if you pay and I thoroughly believe this because if you look at the track record of like the people he's been attacking, he has been having a retribution list. And he's been so you can't tell me otherwise. And like
Yeah.
I still, and again, my own personal views and opinion, I still don't even believe he won this. I don't believe he won this election. I think he put up this guise to try to act like Biden didn't win that election to bring up all this doubt so that when he actually steals this election, that if you tried to say that he stole this election, that he would just go about their whole little followers and cult will just say, "Oh, you're just saying that because we prove that Biden stole the election and now it's basically you're trying to turn it around on us." It's like it's it's like calculated gaslighting. And that's all this freaking administration knows how to do. But
Yeah.
the only thing is though, it's not that calculated.
I mean, they're definitely trying to steal the midterms, and,
Yes.
only way that they won't is if it's such a landslide they can't steal it.
Yeah, and like just the effery on that, which, I really want us to go, like, hop into China, but while we're on that kind of the subject where it's kinda rolling to, I wanna bring up the fact that, like, I know you and I personally discussed in terms of this, like, new counterterrorism sort of document that has come out. I honestly think that has a play with what they're trying to do to kinda, like, interrupt the midterms.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
if you really look at the text of, that doc, which, let me go ahead and pull it up really
Yeah, if you
quick.
wanna go ahead and pull up, I'll
Yeah.
filibuster while you do that. So, I don't know if you guys have seen the polls. Trump is really underwater with pretty much everyone. There's been some approval polls that he's even disapproval with white, uneducated people. Like his disapproval is even with those voters. So everyone's abandoning ship essentially.
Because they
And we
know.
haven't even really felt the shock of everything's about to happen. I don't think anyone understands like our economy is about to fall apart. I think.
Yeah, it's a lot worse than people understand. I think they think because we're already in it right now that things should be happening instantaneously, but it has to work up to really the fall, get rid of, like, not get rid of, but, like, our current, like, surplus has to, like, deplete in terms of, like, what we have in reserves, especially when it comes to oil and stuff like that. And then once those are gone, then it's, like, really, like, it's gonna get worse before it gets better. And you can see it slowly start to creep up, like, if anyone really, really pays attention. But I did go ahead and pull up this, plan that the White House, announced. I'm gonna go ahead and read the whole thing
Okay,
just
go ahead.
because,
I keep on
there
trying
are
to sneeze, but it won't come out. That's why I keep on going off camera because it won't come
no,
out.
you're
So
totally cool.
if I
You're
go
totally
off camera, that's why.
It's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and read this off. It's a little bit long, but there's some things in here that I wanna highlight that are complete, um, farce, misinformation, and basically, um It's just blatant lies. I don't know how to say it. It says our nation has not been well served by its intelligence community, which has been mired in old ways of looking at threats or has been actively weaponized by its leadership as political tool. Whether plotting against conservative Catholics attending traditional mass in Virginia, parents standing up for their children at school board meetings, member of Congress, or President Trump and his associates, this administration will continue to prohibit the IC. Oh, sorry, prohibit. Sorry, I can't even read right. Prohibit the IC from being used politically against innocent Americans as real threats were ignored or underplayed. Americans have witnessed the politically motivated killings of Christians and conservatives committed by violent left wing extremists, including the assassination of Charlie Kirk by a radical who exposed extreme transgender ideologies. This is actually in a statement. Um, in addition to cartels and the Islamic terror groups, our national CT activities will also prioritize the rapid identification and neutralization of violent secular political groups whose ideology is anti American, radically pro transgender, and anarchist. We will use all the tools, I can't even end this word. Sorry, I can't read sometimes. Cons,
I know the feeling.
constitutionally,
I can't talk and
basically
read at
based on
that.
the Constitution,
I'll do that.
constitutionally available to us to map them home, identify their membership, map their ties to international organi listen to this part. This is what's international organizations like Antifa. I know, hold on. And use law enforcement tools to cripple them operationally before they can maim and kill the innocent. We will do the same for the state sponsors, such as groups and those governments undertaking lethal plots on U.S. soil or against Americans anywhere. Okay, listen. There's several things I want to hit on this. Um,
Go ahead.
Number one, plot and threats against Christians and conservatives and how they're being targeted and killed. Where?
Yeah, I was wondering where as
Where?
well.
I'm sorry, but I mean, we see Alex Pretty, and everything that happened in Minnesota
Mhm.
and what, good that got
Yeah.
not
I
only
can see,
that,
like,
there's
the
there's so many more that has been killed by ICE. Like, I
mhm.
don't even know the number right now. But there's a lot.
Yeah,
A
I can see,
lot.
like, Jewish people getting attacked to some degrees, but I don't seen Christians to
No.
any,
Maybe in
major point
Israel. I said what I said, I'm sorry.
or
My
Lebanon.
earbuds.
Or Lebanon. Yeah.
Tel Aviv, maybe. Um, yeah, so that I find really, really funny. I also find it very interesting that he brings up the assassination of Charlie Kirk in the statement. And also, which if I were that Tyler person, I would told this to the government for this freaking what is it? God, I can't think of words today. Like my brain, it's been a long day for me. So what is yeah, defamation. There we go.
Yeah,
Since
defamation.
defamation because his extreme transgender ideologies, like what? First of all, like shut up. And also, I don't know if you saw this, like Israel, not Israel, Iran, they actually was like, hey, your government did this, right? I don't know if you saw that. They actually came out and like,
No.
yeah, when they hacked Cash Patel's stuff, they're like, "Your government." What they stated was, which don't quote me, this is me going off of, things that I, um, was reading and things, but
And
someone
North
look it up.
American, so we do need to take a grain of salt, but yeah, but
Like, essentially, but it's meant to explode in the chest as if we were shot in the chest with a bullet, but, the, explosive device was defected and a piece of shrapnel came up and hit him in the neck. It was what hit him in the neck, and that's how that ended up going. And we already know about Candace Owens and her, like, deep dive into that and with all that added together, like, it checks. I'm sorry. Like, even
and
which
and
killed me
Erica
too.
Kirk. not caring about seem not caring about her husband, and, uh,
Not
I
only that,
like
her
guns, but
connections
I'm
and
not a
association
gun. Yeah.
too.
I like guns, but I'm not a gun expert, but people that are gun experts don't really understand how if that was a, bullet like they said it was, it would've blown its
Mhm.
head off,
Right.
but it didn't.
That's meant to take down a bear. It's
Yeah.
literally meant to take down big game, and you guys are like, "Oh, yeah, person, not big game," or like a deer. You that's not the same.
Yeah.
I just but aside from, like, Erica, Kirk, and all them, and it just checks too in terms of America's history and our false flags. Like, it really kills me that even today with the MAGA and the GOP and just the people who are just so far right, Christian nationalists, and the people who are just so for Trump that they still say, and I don't know if you've seen them say this, but they're like, "Oh yeah, well, Democrats are the ones, who killed JFK." Like, y'all, that just shows me that y'all are bigoted people who are just
Mhm.
shouting, shouting, shouting because it's your side without actually paying attention to what's going on or reading any documents or looking at the stuff that the government has declassified because they
Mhm.
declassified JFK's killing and they admitted it that they did it.
CIA.
Government them say a Democrat shot. No. And you know what I find that really kind of like interesting? They're trying to say all these like different things a Democrat started. Like at the mind and with how things are going in terms of the GOP, like all these other things that have happened in the past that like are not necessarily proven. Again, these are my ideals and my conspiracy theories because I'm a little nutty sometimes at them. I wouldn't doubt it if some of the things that happened that they're blaming that the Democrats did that are just so negative that really the Republicans set up as a false flag to blame the Democrats to further push their agenda and their initiative to get them to where they are today to suppress the Democratic Party. I wouldn't put it past them. I'm sorry, but the GOP has been shady for quite some time. And
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, okay, for anyone listening, I am not a Democrat and I think Democrats are shady too. But let's just say the GOP is a little bit more, okay? Just a little more spicier.
And I'm a Democrat, but not by choice. But, yes, they are very shady. Yeah.
Right, like, I'm registered as a Democrat, but here in Oklahoma, you can't register as an independent and still get the full ballot, which I find so fucking crazy to me. Like, why are you just because they're independent and all that, full ballot? Why? Why? I don't know if you know that in
Yeah.
here in Oklahoma. Yeah, it's
Mhm. Mhm.
whatever. Honestly,
I think,
independent.
I was registered as an independent, but I think I'm a Democrat now, but
Yeah. I
yeah.
switched just to get the full ballot, and I wasn't
Yeah.
about to be honestly, I probably should switch to Republican and then vote Democrat just to fudge their numbers, but that's petty. That's different, me and my petty. But aside from going on, because I could literally talk about the Trump and the GOP and the MAGA and how just uneducated they
Yeah.
are all day, but
Or
let's really get into,
look at our
how they're
travel system.
uneducated with freaking Trump's China trip. They think that
Mhm.
so many good things have happened because he's like, "Yeah, America, great." I think that trip was an utter
Yeah.
failure. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't great.
Mm-mm. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
if
for
you
those
wanna just jump into it, we'll get into it.
yeah, for those listening, yeah, from May 13th to the 15th, Trump actually traveled to China,
Mhm.
and the whole point of this trip was really supposed to be in terms of talking about trade and business and trade because and I want to start to preface this. China and along with a lot of other countries that again, a lot of people don't know this because of censorship here in the US now, is that they have halted a lot of business from the US. They're like, well, I mean, you kind of saw with Canada's like boycott, boycott. But it wasn't just the people boycotting. The governments themselves started boycotting the US. And China actually cut off a lot of in terms, of course, about sweet about that. They're like, hey, we prepared for all this business and we don't have this business. And um Trump coming back from China was like, "Hey, you know what? We did good. We're getting to like I think it's like $12 billion. Don't quote me on the number. Please look it up. Always look up
Mhm.
anyone telling you anything. Always look up information yourself, people out there. But
Mhm. Work.
I want to say it was like $12 billion. And he was like, "Yeah, we got all this business." And this is where the wordplay really comes in play with this administration. You did not just get like it's not new business. It's them allowing purchases back, and it's not even in full force to what they used to purchase from us. It's like giving us a little sprinkle. And not only that, Trump's like, "Yeah, we did all these deals." But China even's like, "Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. We talked about deals, but these deals aren't set."
Mhm.
And actually it was like $14 billion, but I digress. China also even then talked about like which I don't know if people out there saw it. I know that and I talked one on one personally with it in terms of like Trump came out to talk to the media
Mhm.
and during his trip at China and he was visibly shaken. Like
Mhm.
visibly like terrified. I would have to say. That was I think that's the best. He was or stunned. I'm not
Yeah.
sure, but I've never seen this man say such little words. And he still talked a
They
lot.
they
Um,
made him act like an actual president.
yeah. He stood there and they were asking him like, "Hey, what'd you talk about? Did you talk about Taiwan?" And he was like, "The country is beautiful. China's a beautiful place. It's beautiful here." And he just
Mhm.
and it was and from was that there was actually a closed door right before that exit, and Xi Jinping, the president of China, was like, "Hey, back off of Taiwan. This is not your business." And from my understanding too, is
Mhm.
that with China on talking about Taiwan and to kind of backing off, they also were like, "This war with Iran shouldn't have ever happened. So don't you dare with Taiwan." And from what I've been hearing whispers of what happened in the closed doors was pretty much like if you mess or if you like recognize Taiwan, we are going to act against you. Is from what
Mhm.
I hear, and people out there, which again, ignorant Americans who fall for propaganda, which is a thing. Okay, to this day, people still propaganda understand, like, just kind of as a synopsis of it, I don't know if you've heard this in terms of, like,
Mhm.
Napoleon. They're like, "Napoleon was such a short little man," right? Have you heard about that? Like, growing up in
Mhm.
history? Like, he
Yeah.
was a little dude. He was he tried to act all big and bad and to make people intimidated of him. Did you know that was a rumor?
Started by the British.
Yeah, it was a rumor started by the British because they wanted to make him seem weak.
Yeah,
And
he
it
was
is
actually average height.
26 and people still think he's a midget. Like,
Yeah, he was average height for a French person.
he was I think he it stated he was 5'7",
7, 5, 8.
5'8",
Yeah, I know.
which people are like, "Oh, that's little for a dude." If you look at the world's average, that is the world's average.
I'm
Like,
thinking about it like 300 years ago, so,
exactly, and
yeah.
it was the
We
world's
we evolved as a species since then, so we're a little taller than we used to be.
so that's
And
how
5'8" to
impactful
5'9" is still average height for a man, even today's standards.
it's brilliant. I'm just kidding. But that no, what I was getting to though is that
No,
that's
I'm like
like
5'10", so
okay.
9
I
and
just
a
just
half. I'm 5'10".
a little bit above average.
No, but
But
I don't lie about my height.
like that's how impactful propaganda can be. Something so small, just like be so big. And like Americans, they're the worst at it. They're the worst at following brand. Even to this day, the Red Scare has gotten people. You hear communist people, and even with
Mhm.
socialism, they think socialism is communism, but that's not because the Red Scare propaganda. That's because Americans are uneducated because they can't read past the sixth grade level, and most people don't know the definition of words. Like, again, I go on these tangents about the GOP and MAGA, but like with
Mhm.
these people, when they go around, people like, oh, liberal, but like of liberal, they realize that that's not much of an insult, and they really just must hate like America because I'm sorry, liberal oh, I feel and I say that because there is a lot of like liberal ideals that like were basis on the foundation of like America being built, and some people can argue with me about that. And honestly, I don't give a crap. Argue all day long,
Mhm.
waste your breath. I'm not gonna listen because I have my own views and I'm gonna stick with them. But
Mm.
in terms of liberalism, you believe in free enterprise, you believe in civil liberties, you just believe in individual rights, and you believe in democracy.
Mm.
I'm sorry, but if you think that's an insult, you're the most un-American jackal I've ever met in my life. Like crazy talk. But sorry, I digress. To go back to it. So all of this like propaganda in terms of like China and stuff like that, that the US people believe, and they can threats or people in America, "Oh, China, they're nothing. They're so weak and they're so small and blah, 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 blah." We have been here for 250 freaking years. China's been around for like thousands of years. They go back dynasties, okay?
Mm.
And I don't think a lot of people understand that. And they're just like, "Oh, well, the people." Yeah, okay, we have roughly 340 million people. Let's see, how many.
Over a billion.
I think so, right?
Yeah, it's like 1.5 of them.
1.4 billion.
Yeah.
1.4 billion. Do you know if there's mandatory.
They stopped the mandatory child policy.
Well,
I
no,
know.
not the child. Oh, well, I know they did that, but I'm talking about. So, um, all aged 18 to 22 military service in China, and the
Wow.
law
Yeah.
obligates all citizens to serve in the People's Liberation Army if needed. Okay, and that includes women too. Women are
Mm.
allowed to serve mostly in like primary support, technical, medical roles, and limited combat positions. But what a lot of people don't understand here in America, we've been living in that freedom, right? And freedom very loosely because it's been all obviously just fake provided freedom, but we are not forced into military service. That is an option that we can choose to go into, right? We can choose to go to college or we can go choose to be like an artist. We can choose, like, you can choose your own adventure, okay? In these other countries, which I don't think a lot of Americans understand, they don't get to choose their own adventure. Example, Russia. As soon as you become of age, you either got to go to university or you go to military, and if not, you get in trouble, right?
Mm.
One or
Israel.
the other. So a lot of their all of their people are either they're either educated or they're militant. China, every single person is required to be part of the People Liberation Army. Like the males, 18 to 22 to register for the military. I don't think that means they necessarily have to enlist, just register, I think also to like in case of call and needed. But a good people military. And I'm actually really curious, huh?
I
I'm
mean,
curious on how much that personnel is. Okay, they have they have roughly 2.03 million active military personnel, supported by sets reserve and paramilitary forces capable of mobilizing. Okay, this is how much they're capable of mobilizing: 81 million people. 81 million. In our regular army, which we have roughly, let's go see here, about 2025, we had 2.86 million. So a little bit over what their active military is, but they have that reserve of that many people that they can call on.
Mhm.
I don't think people understand. Our numbers will never match. And even out of our 340 million people that we have here, how many of those are children? I don't
Or
understand that when
older
China makes
couldn't
threats,
fight.
we are in trouble. Like
Yeah.
we and I'm pretty sure China is a nuclear holding country, right? They are nuclear.
Mhm.
So the Americans acting like China's not a threat is so wild. And the fact that they're threatening over Taiwan is scary. I don't care what anyone says,
Well,
like,
and the thing about that, they wouldn't even have to do anything military wise. They'll just rip our economy apart because
God,
we don't build anything here. Which
that's
that's
true.
one of the only good things Trump has ever said is we're getting ripped off because we don't build anything here. Most of our stuff is China. Taiwan, Thailand, Vietnam, Philippines, or Mexico.
Yeah. But a lot and then but at the same time too, I don't think a lot of people understand as well that a lot of the raw material that we do get here to build, the what we do build, um, comes from these other countries. Like,
Mhm.
there's it just China has such a good wealth in terms of resource. I don't think people understand. China, uh, you know, uh, let me also look up.
And while you do that, so another funny thing is, so Fox News went to China with Trump, and
Mm,
like Brett Baer, one of their reporter guys, was there reporting on China, and he went into like their version of like a 7-Eleven. I don't know if you saw this or not, but he went in there. The cashier is a robot,
mhm,
and like the robot's like autonomous. He asked for like a sausage sandwich, and they got it for him. Other thing is, so they're China's like very like surveilled. Everything's surveilled. So like especially in like big cities like Beijing.
mhm.
So you had to just admit to being on camera constantly. And which I mean America we have that as well. But
Mhm.
we if you do something wrong, they're gonna see you do something wrong. So the driver for Brett Baer and all the Fox News people illegally parked for a couple minutes and he got a ticket. For 2 minutes, you illegally parked, but you got a ticket. You got a text
Mhm.
message. You owe something 61 or whatever the fuck, which is like $40 US
Right.
dollars. So like there's so much more technology, more advanced than us. Like there's this like one city that's equivalent would be like some bumfuck nowhere Nebraska city. And they
Yeah.
have like a super city. They have super cities all over China.
Mhm. They're, like, futuristic as hell.
And there's so much more advanced than us.
And
My
not only
oldest
that.
daughter is like fairly intelligent.
Mhm,
Just
yeah.
say my oldest daughter is fairly intelligent, and her little friends are really smart too. And I
Mhm.
asked both of them, like, what would be the like? I gave them like a question. What is the economic impact of the Strait of Hormuz being closed? And they couldn't tell me. They just thought the name Hormuz was funny, but like they couldn't tell me what that was. And but like a middle schooler in high school, middle school in China could tell me what that was. And
Right.
mind you, they're both in high school, and they're really smart high school kids.
Yeah, I can concur. I know that I know his daughters and yeah, it's she is very bright. She's like,
Yeah,
isn't she like a straight A student? You
yeah,
know,
straight A
she's
student, he's
like
very
honors. She's like
intelligent.
she's
Yeah,
so smart. But yeah, it's Oklahoma smart. It's
and
unfortunate
it's
to say.
not just and my girl and I were
US
talking about
one.
like Oklahoma's smart and like you were saying, but I don't know
Mm.
if you've seen or not, but in the last decade, all education in America has been going down.
Yeah, that's why the average is a 6th grade reading level for all people. Because and this even goes back way towards in Reagan's administration to when even when he was the governor of California, we essentially had free colleges, but he was like, "Nah,
Mhm,
nah, nah, nah. We can get loans and things like that." But that's not the point I'm trying to make. He also at the time, someone, oh gosh, I think one of his staff members or something stated that like, "Oh, an educated, civilization is harder to control."
mhm. I mean, Trump said it himself. I
Yeah,
love that I'm educated.
yeah, it's because you can just, like, it's you're a sheeple, you're a robot, and I say sheeple as in sheep because as you know, sheep will blindly follow you off a cliff. They'll
Uh-huh.
they'll they'll die. It's just
Yep.
that's what Americans are. A lot of them are sheep,
I mean,
especially those in MAGA and GD.
you're statistically more likely to be a Democrat if you go to college. That should be like
And because colleges are liberal. And I say that because Democrats tend to lean more liberal. Um, it's funny how you can be a conservative Democrat, but you can't be a liberal Republican. Think about that. And like
Yeah.
people want to say Republicans are not extremists. If Republicans are not extremists, then you should be able to be a liberal Republican.
So President Obama, I don't remember when he said it, but essentially he said the Republican Party, this is when he was president. The Republican Party is so crazy that if I was ran for office in the 80s, I would be a Republican. Essentially, like I have qualms with Obama, but I'm not going to get into that. But like I see the current establishment of the Democratic Party as Republicans.
Yeah.
Like they're just Republicans in my eyes. Because
I would agree that it would be like the
tell me,
Republican
tell
how
me.
the Republicans were back in the eight. I would agree with you. Um, like, and I'm
Especially
gonna
when it
bring
comes
up
to
Thomas
economics.
Massie, which Thomas Massey is a big thing right now too. He's under fire and they're trying to unseat him. And
Mhm.
honestly, I just looking how Congress speaks, he might be the last real Republican in Congress. And people are saying, "Oh, he's talking like a Democrat. He's basically not a Republican and turning against his party." No, 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 no. He's being a true staunch what a Republican was and should be, and
You're a very
historically
libertarian. I
did.
respect him a lot.
Yeah, and, like, people are like, "Oh, you just hate" they try to tell me, people who don't know me, try to say, "Oh, you just hate Republicans." Oh, no, no, no. I'm here in Oklahoma, and I love Mayor David Holt, okay? I think he is one of the last true Republicans in the state, to be honest, too, because he's saying like Thomas Massey. You probably have some qualms about David Holt.
Well, I hate
Oh,
Republicans, so I want to destroy the Republican Party. Like
oh,
so they can say that about me. That's accurate. I hate the Republicans. So
okay, okay, Adam's like that, but I'm like when it comes to like the true core of who Republicans are, I look towards the people like David Holt. I look towards people like Thomas Massey. That's how you should. And you know what? Despite a partisan, every person should be looking towards the Constitution and that should be your guiding factor in anything. Anything that you believe or do here in the US. And if any of it remotely, it's like, nah. Like, and that's what kills me about these Americans, and they're just like, "Oh, we need to get rid of like this amendment and whatever 14th the 14th Amendment is what they're really wanting to get rid of right now or something." If you want to dismantle or get rid of any parts of the Constitution, I'm sorry, can you really call yourself an American? Because if you look at the history of what brought us to these amendments to get them forthcoming and to bring them into play, which really were the point of throwing those things in there were really to because it narrows back to the true core of what America was its intent on what it was built on. And if you don't believe those amendments should be there, I'm sorry. You cannot call yourself a patriot. You cannot call yourself a true pro American. You cannot say you're American first. Because if you're American first, then you would put our Constitution first. You would recognize the Bill of Rights. And one thing that really kills me about a lot of Americans these days is that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all. Okay.
mhm.
And if people don't know what the fuck those words are, go look them up. Okay. Because what this administration is doing is shitting on that alone. Okay. People cannot, oh, but I can. You might be able to. And I'm sorry. But if you believe in freedom, oh, not for everybody, then you don't believe in freedom. You believe in privilege. And that's what you're boasting on. Like, oh, I don't have like the people who say I didn't lose any rights. It's those same people. Yeah, okay, you might not have, but other people have. So we are not hitting that point of life. We're not hitting the point of liberty because people don't have these free liberties. Look at freaking, Steve Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel. They might have a liberty to speak freely as comedians and reporting on things. That's not liberty. Pursuit of happiness. We have transgendered people out here just trying to live their lives authentically, which by the way, people out there, if you are thinking about if it bothers you about people's genitals and how they have sex, you're the weirdo, okay? Because thinking about other people's genitals and how they have sex is weird behavior. Okay, you're not gonna look at your straight friends and be like, I wonder if they do it doggy style or if they do it missionary. No, the fuck you're not. So why are you doing it to these other people? That's fucking weird behavior. But I digress. Transgender people cannot live authentically their lives, and that takes away their happiness. we are not living life, liberty, or the pursuit of fucking happiness.
Yeah.
That is the core principles of our country. And if you
Yeah.
don't believe that for everybody, you're un-American AF. And I
Mhm.
stand by that. I stand by that completely. Sorry, let me get off my
Yeah.
soapbox. You know, I get crazy
Yeah.
sometimes.
Republicans
That's
fucking
why
love
on my
love
TikTok, I say I'm unhinged. Out of us, he's the calm one. I'm the crazy.
Republicans love thinking about trans people. It's fucking weird. Like,
Dude, it is so weird. And you know what? Okay, let me get, while we're on that though, the Republicans, and they get so weird about trans people, and but they're like, support the Jewish, right? Support the Jewish, right? You know who the first people were to create a the trans, I don't know if this is the first trans facility, but it was a trans operational facility to assist with trans people in their transition? Were
no
Jewish
kidding.
people, and it was dismantled in Germany by Hitler.
Mhm.
You love the Jewish, but you don't love their inventions. You don't like, look it up. It's crazy. They had so much advancements when it comes to transgenderism, and all these people are like, oh, transgender, blah blah blah. Like all of a sudden, it's like this new thing. No, it's visible. That's the difference. Transgenders have been here. They just haven't been visible. But now that it's visible, and sorry, I'm on a roll right now.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And even
Uh,
to go like to
we
go
can get back to China, but go ahead.
right, but even
Yeah.
to, like, go off of that, with the transfers being visible, it's like it's kinda like the whole, a lot of people get upset with seeing gay people on TV still kind of, well, not so much now, but they remember when it was really big, like, "Oh, it's everywhere now, they're just throwing gay people in your faces."
Mhm.
How
Whether
long
they
did
say
it
black people or anyone that's not white.
right. How long had it been before you even saw a gay person on TV? No, you just
A
now
while.
see it. It's just now visible.
Yeah.
And like you as a person think that you can sit here and watch, let's say, love stories on movies, and let's say about two, a male and a female coming together, and what kind of love, and those kind of like and it's like that feel good kind of thing. How come you can experience that, but they can't, just because they're gay? I never
Mhm.
understand that. It's again goes back to, if you believe in like freedom, but not for everyone, then you believe in privilege, and you just like the privilege of seeing how your life could be reflected, how you could be
Mhm.
perceived as things, how you're gonna, that is so selfish and just absolutely disgusting. And I think this country and this government has done a really good job of separating us and making us kind of like against each other, to where it's like, oh, we're all kind of like become more selfish people. We don't think about
Yeah.
others. We're not caring about others. We're losing humanity slowly but surely. And that just to me goes back to another core principle in terms of America. Okay. Well, I say yeah, that's kind of, I would say it was a principle in terms of like what we say, united we stand, divided we fall. Okay.
Mhm.
Again, the same people who are turning against their own Americans just because they believe and want to live their lives authentically differently than you are, and you want to condemn them for it. You're
Mhm.
the most, again, un American, POS. You want to sit there and say you live the land of the free, but you want to oppress people for not living freely like how you picture it. Disgusting. I don't care what anyone, you're the, if anyone's listening to us like that, you're the most disgusting POS in the world. I said what I said. Anywho's.
Yeah.
So crazy. I don't like
Yeah.
it. I think it's rude, and it's just, imagine it was you. Imagine, let's say the whole world was full of gay people and you were straight, and they're like, "Oh, you're disgusting. Ooh, with your weird, hetero
Mhm.
sex."
Yeah.
And
Anyways.
thinking about your genitals. I wonder what they got down there. None of your motherfucking business, okay? None of your fucking business.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. I do digress. I went off my thing. Again, this all started because it was about show and understand that they are a threat, and it is scary. And again, the government lies. China came out and stated that Xi Jinping and his administration stated that these deals and everything they spoke about in terms with Trump is, it's all preliminary. It's just, these are
Mhm.
just talked about deals. Nothing has been set in stone. But our government is presenting this to the American people as that, oh, we did this and we did all this and this, to make themselves look good, because they know that they're losing their own party. So when they say good things, that their party is like, oh, they're doing great, because they don't
Mhm.
actually do research. They're trying to regain support from their supporters.
Yeah.
followers. We know what they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's
speaking of things that people don't understand, I might not have said this right, but the Sidious trap.
mhm.
So,
The yes.
Ping, yeah. So Xi Jinping said this to Trump. Of course, Trump didn't know what that meant. Uh, full disclosure, I didn't know what that meant either. So, so essentially, it's a theory, a political theory from like the Greek times, from like a historian from the Greek times.
Mhm,
It is essentially one superpower that's arising, other superpower is going down,
mhm.
and China's president leader is worried that since America is kind of falling apart and China is ascending, America is going to lash out against China, and he doesn't want that to happen.
Yeah.
Now, of course, Trump didn't know what that meant, but afterwards, when he said that, Trump got super mad. He got on live social, and he's like, "I think he's talking about Biden's presidency. He's not talking about my presidency." I'm like, "No, dude, he's talking about you."
Dude, Biden lives rent free in that man's head.
Oh my
Just
god! So
rent
speaking of,
free.
I don't know if you saw the poll, but is like a poll in North Carolina. 40% of Republicans still think Biden's the reason why our economy is falling apart. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I have to settle before it really hit. Excuse me? Is
40, almost half of the Republicans still think that our
you know
economy's falling
what?
apart because of Biden.
You know what? I have elderly family that live out in the Carolinas, and I believe you know what? There's probably a lot of boomers that retire there. I'm sorry, maybe I'm ageist. These boomers are very just especially the boomer GOP and boomer the older generation of men,
Uh-huh.
they are just real Biden lives rent free in their heads too. I don't get it. Like, I don't was Biden a great president? No, I mean, I would say no. I would say was he mediocre? Absolutely. 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 Definitely not great, but, like, at the same time, he wasn't this bad. Like, he kept the economy numbers low. We didn't really like, I think the inflation number actually went down under his administration. I can't quote
Yeah.
numbers. And he did bring jobs to the market. People wanna say open borders, but, like, no,
Yeah,
no.
I can the border problem I can see. The biggest problem with Brandon, how he handled Gaza and gave Israel whatever they wanted.
Honestly, every single one of our presidencies have done it. Every single one of them, except JFK.
Yeah.
It's been honestly, I don't we probably haven't gotten a president that wasn't a simp for Israel.
President
Sa
Obama was a super. He
yeah, he
wasn't
was.
as,
100% he was.
but he did the Iran deal, which Israel was pissed about.
I mean, he did do the Iran deal, I think because he does still have a same time, I think a lot of people forget this too in terms of Obama. He did attack what Libya and Syria and those other places
Mhm.
and be honestly, I think for Israel, but I won't get in. That's my own personal opinion.
Mhm.
Unprompted, and he didn't get a congressional approval for that either.
I mean,
Like,
he was the droner in chief. Like, I have criticism of Obama. He wasn't
yeah, I
perfect.
mean, I have a lot too. Obama don't get me wrong, I like Obama. I think he's a great speaker. I think he is a very humble man. I think he genuinely cares for the American people, and I think he does respect our Constitution. But I also think he can be bought because of
And
Israel, and I think a lot of them can be bought because of Israel. And I also think that um, he wasn't necessarily a great president, and that might be a really hard take. I think he's great in the terms of how he brought in the youth in terms of voting in elections and getting them politically involved. I think that was beautiful. I think it was beautiful that he did rise up the oppressed sort of races such as like the black people and other different races in
Mhm.
terms of even the poverty communities as well, not associating the different races with poverty community. I'm talking separately. He did uplift those different genres, like groups of people. Um,
Mhm.
but at the same time, let's not forget, he did create sort of. these like holding kind of camps, not like Donald Trump, not like this alligator Alcatraz sort of thing. And I don't
Mhm.
think the conditions were very humane either. Do you remember?
Yeah.
With the
Kids in
cages.
cages. Yeah, I know.
I don't think that was okay. It was like keeping
Mhm.
people in dog kennels, and I think that is absolutely effed up. So yeah, I don't think he was great. And I think he definitely could be bought by Israel, but not as bad as his administration. Not as bad. And these people that think he's so just is absolutely he did not go into the presidency and leave billions of dollars richer.
Mhm.
Okay. We're only 2 years in, and what Trump's growth went up to what, and it grew by like $10 billion or some crap. 2 years in, $10 billion. Do you know how long it takes to spend $1 billion?
A long time.
A long motherfucking
I don't
time.
think people understand much $1 billion is.
Okay, I like to say $1 billion this way, and I said it this way to my kids, and what? I was like 999,999,900, that or not, yeah, 100,000, 999,009 and 999 and 99 cents. They were like, how long I had to say that number? I was
Mhm.
like, that's $1 billion. Like,
Yeah.
what? Yeah. When you say $1 billion, because it's so short, it just seems like $1 billion. No. Okay. No. That's nine. Just think of just $999 million alone. Like, what? It's just people don't get it. And it's a grift that never ends. And when we talk about since we're talking about grifting, I actually want to ask you this. I haven't got to personally ask you this at all yet. Did you see what happened in terms of the Trump phone?
No, but before we get to that,
Okay.
so if you did 24 hours nonstop, counting 1 to a billion, it would take you 31 years.
That's an even scarier way to say a billion. If you were to count to a billion nonstop for 24 hours straight, it would take you 31 years.
Yes.
That is disgusting.
So think about Elon Musk has $124 billion, I think, the last time I checked. He's on
Mhm.
his way to being a trillionaire.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't know, I haven't checked, but
I
yeah.
don't like, okay, let's say, I would now that you put the math that way, I kind of want to see another math here. Hold on, let me bust out my calculator.
And the
So,
worst part is all these billionaires don't pay anything in taxes.
yeah, that's what I don't understand. Um, is that
A
like
lot of it is we're gonna have to do, like, a full-on video about it, but if I can actually, like, read off stuff and be more detailed, but essentially, a lot of
Mhm.
it is they have pretty much all their money in stocks,
Yeah.
and they're very liquid poor. So they
Mhm.
have huge loans, they go against their assets. That's why they don't pay anything taxes, and they don't sell any of their stocks, so they don't have to pay any capital gains tax.
Yeah.
And if they do sell it, the capital gains tax is like 6% now,
And you know what's funny? Well, not
or 12%. Don't quote me on that. It's around there.
funny. Bill Clinton he was a relatively okay president. Like he really was. He actually taxed the rich, and then he actually was able to get America like it more flush during his presidency. And if he wasn't like, kind of kicked to the curb there. I mean, it was towards the end, so it's still the time, but he had more time. He probably would have even done even better things. Like I don't think people even remember that in terms of Bill Clinton. Like he actually really.
I have a lot of qualms with Bill Clinton and how he took the Democratic Party, but
Yeah,
as
but at
as
the same
a
time, he did what we're looking at the overall what's best for the country, for the
okay,
people in terms of
if I take my ideology out of it, he was
yeah.
fine.
Listen, if I go to ideology about Bill Clinton too,
Yeah,
he's a gross dude. Let's not play
yeah.
games.
Like he took the
And I'm not
Democratic
talking about
Party
Monica
and
Lewinsky, okay?
yeah,
And I feel so bad for her, and I won't get into that. I think she should be deserve to be respected as just and I feel like she was
mm,
taken
yeah.
advantage of. But country. You do what's best for the country, and he was good at that. He was good at connecting with the people and really he even I honestly think even bringing people together because people liked Bill Clinton. They thought he was just like the suave dude, saxophone, just like this cool ass dude.
Yeah.
And like, so what I wanted to do math is that okay, I looked it up. So as of May 11th, 2026, Trump is sitting at 6.21 billion. So it wasn't 10.
Yeah.
But so you know when you have like these Lambo supercars that are worth like $3 million? Okay, for
Mhm.
people to listen to understand with Donald Trump and his $6.21 billion, if he just took $1 billion out of his 6.2 billion and decided to go and buy a $3 million supercar, okay, and as many as that he can with $1 billion, $3 million supercar with
Mhm.
$1 billion, he could buy 333 $3 million supercars.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah, I
that's
believe it.
disgusting, but
Mhm.
anyways, oh, what did my ADHD, what did I bring up earlier?
I forgot to.
Oh, damn, you also have ADHD.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, no, but I do actually wanna touch back to in China, something that I just want to throw out there for any listeners that I found really, really funny, like, really funny, which before I get into it, let me kind of also give the background to if people recall when Trump went to Korea, and, South Korea gave, him a crown. I can't remember what the name of the
Oh,
dynasty was, but he gave him the crown, and this crown was actually to a dynasty that failed economically and basically turned this basically used his people and his whole dynasty failed.
yeah.
So
That's accurate.
thing on that is the country, and
Mhm.
he thinks it's just like the greatest thing. Like it's so great. Oh my god, this is so just good. And
And he's
China,
oblivious to it.
right? And China gave him a gift, which was just so top tier. They gave him rose seeds, seeds to plant roses because he tore down the rose garden at the White House and
Yeah.
put up a concrete patio. So he gave him freaking rose seeds. I'm just that's funny. I really wish
Mhm.
that wasn't what I was wanting to bring up earlier, and I wish I could remember what it was because it was also something really funny. But again,
Yeah,
I just
I I forgot to. We need to we need to write down both. We
oh,
both
right,
have
I really should.
wandering minds.
Yeah, but, I do wanna kinda go back in time. I know we're kind of all over the place, but,
Mhm.
I think one thing and I just wanna really kinda stress upon with people is that with the threat in terms of Taiwan, and I say this in one of our TikToks before, and we were like, "Yeah, whatever." China and Japan have been preparing to go head to head. Um, I'm kinda glad it didn't escalate that way because honestly, with that going on with Iran and I think people forget that Ukraine, and of course, we know about the genocide in Gaza.
Mhm.
Um, and let's not forget the Congo is going through some stuff right now.
Mhm.
Kenya has its own issues. A lot of popping off in Africa that I think a lot of people don't realize. I know there
Libya,
was and yeah,
Libya,
yeah, and then also too, I know something happened with Australia here recently, but I can't recall. Um,
Israel keeps on trying to threaten, Turkey as well.
Oh, you know what? One day we may need to just sit down and talk about Israel because I don't think a lot of people realize that these other countries have been reporting that they have been occupying their lands. An Israeli developer actually purchased, I think, 540 acres in, I think it is Kenya, somewhere in
Mhm.
Africa, and they're starting to develop a city on
Hmm.
this 540 acres that is they say it's open to anyone and Israelis.
Yeah.
You know where I'm going with that. But I don't think it's open to anyone, and what this
Mhm.
developer's saying is like, "Oh, we're gonna have all these homes, and we're building a community, and we're gonna have a hospital, and we're gonna build a mall, and it's gonna be so great." The occupation is happening everywhere. There's been reports in Japan, about, Israelis disrespecting their citizens and treating them like crap. Um, I encourage a lot of people out there who very on the fence of this country of Israel to look up the Israeli Talmud. And I say that specifically because I think a lot of people, and not just Americans, people do not realize there are two versions of the Talmud. There's the Babylonian Talmud, which most Jewish persons are the one that's the one they follow, and then
Mhm,
there's the Israeli Talmud, and the Talmud, and that's the Talmud they follow. For people who are like Talmud, that's a weird word. What is that? I don't know the reference. It's like okay, so no. So, like, you know how, like, Islam is like and I'm not saying which it is like, but it's like Christianity, right? It's a religion. Like, so when Christianity, you have Christians, Islam, you have Muslims, and then, Christians, they have their, like, commandments that they follow, which is, like, their little laws, right? And then in Islam and the Muslims, they have Shira law. Well, the Jewish Israelis, they have the Torah, which is like their book, like
mhm,
the Bible, and then they have the Talmud, which is like what share law would be, or the 10 commandments. They are rules to follow. Um, it was actually written in their thing that goy or goyim, which would be non-Jewish persons,
mhm,
are not allowed to read their Talmud. And
mhm.
if you guys read it, you'll understand why. And I'm not gonna say it on the podcast because it's honestly it's horrific.
Hmm.
Specifically the Israeli Talmud. It is horrific, and I know I've been very outspoken in terms of the original religion of Islam and Muslims, which, peace be with you out there, and people talking about Sharia law and this whole just propagandized fear. What people are always like worried about, like, oh, Sharia law is coming to America. They're going to build cities. They're going to start occupying. And notice what we're shouting and we're afraid of. Notice what's happening in the other side of the world. The
Mhm.
occupying things. And if you look at Ohio, have you seen Ohio with the Israeli flags up everywhere and they're building
Oh,
communities? And it's happening a lot in the Northeast a lot, in terms of Israel. And I don't think people are noticing because of the censorship. What they're so afraid of and looking in this direction, it's happening over here with
yeah.
these people. And I really wish people would really hone in and look into that, but I won't get into it too much because, and by the way, I am not suicidal. I love my life. I have kids and I would never off myself like that. Okay. So yeah, I would
So,
really look into
it's
it.
I don't know, all 3 of those religions are always odd to me. I mean, they're all Abrahamic religions, all the religions of Abraham.
I've gotten to arguments, with a lot, which for our listeners out there and people like watching on YouTube or anything, I'm tattoos and everything. I'm actually an ordained minister and I would attend college at the Southern Nazarene University here in Oklahoma. I was literally made to study the Bible and learn the Bible. I've also in my previous formative years was a Southern Baptist. And, you know, there are bad people across a lot of different religions. And when I talk to like I get it. Okay. But to just generalize one religion is like really, really terrible. But I talk to other people who are like, oh, Islam and the Muslims and they're terrible and blah blah blah. And I'm like, if you persecute Muslims or even Jewish people, okay, either of those things as a Christian person, you are turning against your own God because those are the same children of the God of Abraham, which is the same God you worship. You want to sit there and spout Allah is just the Arabic word for God. And the people here are just so
Yeah. I mean,
not right.
Jesus is the most quoted prophet in the Quran.
He is. He is so revered in the Quran. They love Jesus. The Quran looks towards Jesus so lovingly that when God sends someone to him, they don't think of him as God's begotten son. They think of him as a prophet. Okay, but if you think about it, like I don't know why people get mad that Muslims think that Jesus is not God's son, given that we're odd. we're supposedly Christians say we're all God's children. So whatever. But he's so revered in the Quran that like instead of sending Muhammad, which is like, like the big prophet within the Quran, they send Jesus because he is so loved and revered that they send him instead to bring the people home, right? So I find that very funny. But if you look at the freaking Torah in the Jewish religion, Jesus burns in hell forever in his excrements because he was sitting there going against the synagogues and said, "Don't boast and pray within the synagogues, and don't listen to the people's boasting on the streets. Close your doors and praise in silence, and God will hear you." And like and he led with his love and his his basically ideals of living. And then what kills me a lot, I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent again, Adam, I'm so sorry, but what
No,
really
we are both
well,
on a
I'm
tangent.
gonna wrap it up after this, I promise. What kills me about these Christians here these days is they don't really hear Jesus's teachings. Jesus's true teachings was you have to live your life godlike. Like everyone has got God within them, right? And you need to live your life like Christ, and you need to walk within Christ. So follow things and such as, love thy neighbor. And a lot of people, I think this was at Matthew 21:40. I can't recall the chapters, but he even says, for those who, you fed those who were hungry, you fed me, clothed who need clothes, you clothed me. And those are my sheep, that is my flock, and everyone to the left are goats. And my favorite thing to say to Christian people who sit there and show that they're goats, I'm like, uh-huh, spoken like a true goat. And they look at me like I'm stupid, and I look at them like, you must not know the Bible, because if you know the Bible, I just insulted your ass. Like, you're not a follower of Christ, because if you were a follower of Christ, you would hear Jesus's teachings, you would walk like Christ, because Jesus's intention was there was not a heaven above or a hell below. It's here on earth. You create hell. If you doing these bad and sins and things, you create hell. If you walk like Christ, you can create heaven on earth. And that's what he was working towards. That we create heaven on earth here. And people don't get that because King James fucked up the Bible, but I can get into that on another time. Sorry, the translations of the Bible make me mad. If you
Yeah.
guys really want to know the Bible, anyone out there very curious, please crack open the Quran. And I'm not saying the Quran is the Bible, but it's good to understand all perspectives, because you sit in an echo chamber, it's not healthy for you. And if you really want to know the true, like kind of the Bible before it was really crazy translated, look at the oldest Bible there is, and that is the Ethiopian Bible. The Ethiopian Bible, the Ethiopian, it'll show you what the true teachings of Christianity is and what really, really was more prevalent. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, like, Christianity really originated, we really say it's between the Middle East and Africa. And the fact that
Mhm.
Americans here like it's white people thing is so weird to me. Sorry, I
Yeah.
digress. We can wrap it up
I
because
mean,
I'll talk.
Muslims say that, the Quran is like the final word of God. Like,
You know what? I honestly believe the Ethiopian Bible was the beginning and the Quran's the end. Fight me. Fight me. Like, because it's the oldest text, and it goes back, and like it also makes me really sad that the stolen basically by the Israelis and also put in a Jewish museum, but I won't get into that. Up. It's really
all
it
the
gets
stuff
really
in
upsetting how much they've
all the
tried
stuff
to
in the
steal.
Vatican where yeah.
They've stolen a lot.
We
And
can do
I
a whole what we can do a whole episode of religion. But
yeah, it's
yeah.
true. We really could. And we could really dismantle a lot of these people's distorted views on what it really is. And like
Mhm.
anyone think that any sort of hate is in the name of God is that is what blasphemy. That is the true definition. Saying God damn it is not blasphemy. That's not blasphemy. Saying I'm going to kill you because I'm a Christian and God doesn't like your crap, that is blasphemous. Doing anything against God's true rule is blasphemy. And I'll end on that.
Alrighty. Well, that was our episode. We kind of jumped a whole bunch of different topics. But really appreciate everyone watching. We had a couple of weeks of craziness in our lives, but trying to get back into it. So, this is History Unmuted. Thank you all.
Thanks. Bye bye.